Hello everyone, welcome to a quick episode. I've decided to make these episodes shorter for the realistic possibility to attain the goal, the vision of the 10,000 talks. But at the same time, something occurred to me that I felt it was really important to share with just human beings in general. And so the title of today's episode is called The Shape of the World is a Metaphysical Clue. And alongside, parallel to that title, there's the idea of why are the inner realms here at all. So in some sense, there are two mysteries for me, and I am trying to connect the significance of their potential meaning, what they can imply. The first vision, I would draw it like this, where it's as if I'm drawing two lines. So the first line of thought is that I looked at the shape of the world. I wondered about the nature of physics and reality and philosophy. And I came to the conclusion that there is a reason the concept metaphysics exists. As much as you want to discredit the idea, but the word exists. The idea of the soul has already been born into this world. And so the ancients knew something that we cannot now, because it has been a sort of thinning of the dimensions after the Industrial Revolution. And as human beings went inside urbanization, they began becoming unnatural more than before. And so what we do with unnatural expression is that we give it to the future, because it takes us there. The location that your attention exists is the world, and how you move and pilot your attention is the source of it. The shape of the world can be considered a metaphysical clue simply because the concept of metaphysics suggests what comes after the physics. And so after the tangible, sensation-based, material, empirical confirmation of physical matter, the next level up, it's as if, there's some schools of metaphysical thought that completely render void the physical reality. But in my perception, it's as if the physical reality is like an onion. And so metaphysical reality is what is encapsulating physical reality. So in other words, when we wonder about, wait a minute, why am I even in this world? Why is there a shape? Why is it that you look at the fruits of cellular work and you see that it is the curvature of the human body? There is symmetry, but there is not perfection of geometry. If one had the ability to look at the world and be like, oh my God, it's just shapes, that is when we are taking a step towards the metaphysics. You see, there is an experience of existence. Then there is the existence of your experience. And so that surpasses how your memory gives you promises of a future that it can only see a little part of. The human intelligence is fascinating because we are multidimensional by nature. Our multidimensionality is what we look at, is what gives us the ability to look at inferior species and be like, why are you guys so behind? Why are we ahead? Because think of it this way, that evolution turned an object into a subject to itself. Now this object has a subjective reality to work with. That subjective reality is the inner realms. So right now as I'm speaking to you, it's as if my physical body is in the outer realms, but the vision behind my voice is in my inner realms. And so it's as if I'm just like this object that has just stopped physically moving for a moment and has stopped looking at just the immediate sensory reception of the stimulus in the environment. What that means is the environment gives you a film. gives you a film projection. That means imagine there was some, let's create a fictional character, you know, a science fiction, let's say fictional character, and we call it the movie god, right? And so it was as if the AI had somehow meshed with film and managed to create a next level being in regards to all the considerations of characteristics in film. I'll say it like this. I'm going too deep into it. What I'm trying to say is that when we wonder about metaphysics, we're like, okay, what else more than the physics? Aristotle, he has shared something called the four causes. And so what that means is that when you want to see how something is there at all, so there's four areas where you're wondering about why it is existing. Right, so those four areas, through the view of Aristotle, I don't remember their exact names, but I can explain them to you. So the idea is that there's one attitude where right now I'm looking at a street lamp, and I can tell you that that street lamp exists because of the material, because of the metal that makes the street lamp, because of the cement that holds it, because of what it is. Right? It's material basis. So there's a sort of material cause at work, right? Another angle would be, in some sense, you're just looking at the shape of it. It has nothing to do with matter. It just has form. That means this is not a street lamp because it is made of that material. It's a street lamp because the shape has been confirmed into a fixed acceptance of reality. Right, so the shape of it is another way of seeing why it was caused. Okay. Now another method, I don't remember the exact names, but another method was where you look at, in regards to the future, why was something made, for what was it made, and another view that it was made by something for a specific reason. These are pretty much the four causes. So you have the reasoning of how did the past get this phenomenon to be caused, and could this phenomenon be caused because of something that has yet to come in the future? You know, I think that one was called the efficient cause. But anyways, these are areas of approach. Now I want to zoom in on the shape of the world. I don't know how to say this, but to me, it's geometry. Like, it was, when I realized that, it was so eye-opening. It was as if like every love story of my life was with the periodic table. Not just the periodic table, but the shape that is calculated, that is considered direct experience. That means if you close your eyes, I would say, and if you visualize something and you can see it, I would say that's an indirect experience. But when our visual eyes are open and there is some sort of synchronization between what is happening in front of our eyes and also behind our eyes, that is where I would say divinity comes into form. Right? So what that means is as if 8 billion human beings on a rock in the middle of nowhere, for a moment, they just looked at the whole thing and they're like, what is this? What am I looking at right now? And so what we're looking at is a geometric question mark. And this geometric question mark has given some clues. That means, imagine, like sometimes when I think about the world and I'm like, okay, what if there was a designer, an inventor, some human being who attempted to, in some sense, recreate the world, as if imagine some sort of, let's create a philosophical thing about this. Let's say there was a god that came to a philosopher and told that philosopher, you can recreate this world in any way you want, and I will give you the might of the heavens. You know, that means authorization to do so. So the question comes, how would a human being create the world, recreate the world? And when I look at it, I notice some fascinating things. Okay, there is first of all, change is a quality of the world. This is one of the most bizarre things. It's as if there's a world so big, filled with so many stars and galaxies, but the human being gets to see it for 100 years. And those 100 years are just considerations of the geometric movement of the matter. So you can say time is geometric movement. That's what it is. It's another word for change. So, when we look at the shape of the world, One clue is I decided to even write a book on this. I've written some, it's not finished, but I've written something about it. And the book was called God Likes Spheres. And so that's my point, that it is spherical in design and it is independent. That means the planets, by forces of nature, in a geometric fashion, in an orbital fashion, they have spacing. You know what it is? It's as if like notes on a circular. Imagine like you see how lines in music are drawn from left to right. Now imagine those lines were drawn in a circle or a spiral. I would say circle. And then as a circle, you see it's as if like the movement of those notes, the movement of each position of reality has an implication of how the whole thing shifted for other positions of reality. So what I'm trying to say is that first of all, we're in the body of a creature. This cannot be ignored. There's a whole physiological level of survival in life. But after, as Maslow suggests, after that physiological survival, we go towards the psychological survival. In our psychological survival, man confronts an empty space and there's stuff in it. There's shapes in it. So what happens next is not a sort of, is the person worthy, unworthy, is the person good, is the person bad. All of that is art. Really what it is the ignition. It is in some sense to begin forming a causal position with reality. You know, it's as if on some level I'm like, yeah, the world is shaped like this. This is why I exist. And then another view is my eyes are shaped like this. This is why the world exists. You see, so there's these, it's kind of like a right triangle. Right angle. Now, how does this come into association with the inner realms? So the thing about the inner realms was that I was wondering, why is it there? Why do we have a subjective level of access to intelligence that other species don't? Why are the eyes of our intelligence more open than other creatures on this planet? Why are we left in the position of the most advanced intelligence in reality? When I look at the world and I wonder what is smarter than a human being, there is the consideration that machines will be competitive, but at the same time, what I am considering is that we are nature's greatest gift to existence. Our mere existence is so bizarre, and that bizarre, it's bizarre in a special way, in a good way. It's as if we cannot be content with the limited perceptions that can only take us so far. The human being has to attain some sort of direct experiential piloting and a complete realization that the human being is in two worlds, not one. And that has been our grave error. We have tried to look at reality as a point and drawn so many lines from that one point. And if it doesn't connect back to that one point, right, wrong, illogical, get out of here. But if we realize that the nature of the world is changing shape, and we are a unique shape that has never been here before. Everybody has a DNA, everybody is an artist. But let me tell you, it's not that people are an artist. Nature is the true artist. We're just the part of our artwork that is just next level. You know, we're the part of the artwork that can create artwork. We are like gods in training. It's, imagine like there was this story where the person's like, yo, can I become a god? And there came this voice from the heavens like, you got to go through training first. Are you ready for training? Are you serious? Okay, you're hired, you know, join us in heaven. Reality is honestly a grand display. You know, to me, as much as I sit here wondering, I'm like, are people expecting a single truth through everything? Like, who says? You know, who says that one point of meaning has to rule all points of meaning? It's, you know, we should not repeat Hunger Games in the ideological realm. There should be a care for the mystery of the human being. You see, we all, when it comes to our knowledge, we have nothing in common. Everybody has different eyes. But when it comes to what we don't know, the unknown, we have everything in common. And so if we accept that it is okay to have the moment be unknown, I think this is one of the greatest things parents can teach children. You know, that there will be moments in your life where your attention will be piloting into known realities, where there's known factors, you know what something means, and there will be moments where you will go, where there would be, how would I say it? It's as if you have found yourself in a moment that doesn't have to mean anything at all. Just by its mere being, it is being. Now, the shape of the world is important. And before I end this off, I've decided to, I don't know, I'm just trying to make these episodes shorter so I can reach the vision. The 10K vision. I guess what I'll say is that when we look at why there's spheres at all, why there's a sphere hovering in the middle of space, we might as well consider it could be anywhere. This sphere could be at the edge of a dark room. This sphere can be in the middle of nowhere. You know, it could be that space is the ruler of matter, and we have not realized yet. That without space, where will something arrive? You know, if a person does not create the space for meaning in their life, it's as if, how would I tell you? I shouldn't say create space. You find space. When it comes to the future, or let me talk about the past. When we wonder about why the moment is the way it is, we divide it between known and unknown, and then we use those two as filters of what images of the past we can sequentially connect and at some point not even consider sequentially. You see, an idea can pass the test of time and have cultural continuity. You know, sometimes I think all those people who have been just holding on to religious ideology, could it have been that their attention had to hold on something else? It was as if like ideas can be like an alien invasion. I am telling you, because you see, the human being has to establish a central point, even though I'm saying the world can be multidimensional, even though there can be other points of cause-effect meaning. What can I say? We use these known and unknown filters, and we try to reverse engineer shapehood back into what our memory allows. You know, I think the biggest truth is that we should consider that because we don't have access to fragments of history, we cannot be certain of our past. So we got to let go of past technologies, not in the sense that we have to forget them, but we just have to stop using them, right? This could be even ideological systems, which I consider technologies, like a religious organization or some sort of idea-specific institution. The ideal specific institution. It's as if there is no human eyes that can capture the whole world. So we must not be arrogant. And you know what's funny, even from the religious angle, God says be humble. You know what that means is when you look too into something, there is consequences unless you are aided, unless you are guided by I would say, let's say it for now, the spirit of the Logos. To me, there is something more than matter here, guys. I don't know how to say it to people. call it metaphysics, call it spirituality, but there is something going on with how there is in front of our eyes, there is an outer physical server, a public physical, one singular public physical server, and behind our eyes there is like every person has their own private server based on how they have walked in this life to fathom it, right? Now, if you ask the question, why did nature divide man between the inner realm and outer realm, from the past it may not be visible, but if you thought about it in the future, that if everybody's imagination could happen just like reality, that means if somebody, let's say there was somebody who had a nice car and there was a person who was jealous, and that person who was jealous, the moment you looked at that car, in his inner realms the car was crumbling, and imagine in reality the car crumbled, and then the guy's like, who crumbled my car? So imagine the consequence of our minds if they were in the outer. And sometimes it is said that man doesn't know. Sometimes we're a bewildered animal trying to get to the next day, not realizing that we're biting too hard. We are gripping the agitation of the realm too much. I am telling you, our intelligence has become for the first time more superior than our physical station, our physical position. So in regards to the past, there's the consideration that there was a spark, and it can be the consideration that it's just infinite. For me, there comes four views of really what the causal position of the world in regards to how the past started would be. So these four. One is that there's nothing, it's all a hologram simulation. One is that it's all one singular truth. The other view is that no, it's divided into chaos and order. There's actually two universes, a chaotic and ordered one. And then there's the view of the infinite, which means 2 times 2 times 2, which means chaos and order that have been multiplied to such a degree, that have extended into so many different dimensions, that there's no longer a meaning of chaos and order, so it becomes meaningless infinity, right? That's what happens if the species becomes too complex, because then it begins fighting for the specifics of its complexity or complex view, and then wars begin. There was something Leo Tolstoy made very clear. He wrote this letter, I don't know to who, I think it was just this letter Leo Tolstoy wrote, and in it he was saying, in the Russo-Japanese War, when the Russians were fighting the Japanese, it was as if the Russian Tsar was saying to his people, God is on our side, and the Japanese leader was saying, the universe is on our side. And so war was beginning, as if you had positioned two mirrors back to back, and they were both marching, two transparent mirrors, two hologram mirrors. And by the way, this is just on a tangent, but cameras are all going to be spherical in the future. And they're going to be floating. The eyes of our world will transcend itself. It will utilize its inner realms to wield the greatest future. If everybody's inner realms was just like the outer realms, there would be anarchy, and there would be so many simulations of the world. What the human being can do is realize every person that is born is really born in their own bubble, in their own sphere of what life has to be. As they step out of that sphere, there comes the responsibility, just like an explorer moving through the jungle, it comes the responsibility in wondering how much more there is to what you have seen so far. That is the source of knowledge. It all starts with a mighty question that commands you forth into understanding why realities are even here at all. This is how I would say the intuition works. It is a roar. All right, it's supposed to be a short episode. So let's take it this way. Known unknown variables, the ring of the absent heaven idea, which is the 0, 1, 2 infinity model, right? that can be applied for the future as well. But I feel that really what we human beings need to do with what we see in this world is to use what we have. The poet Rumi says this incredible quote. He says, "Before death takes away all that is given, give away all there is to give." Why? Because you'll know, we all leave this world empty-handed. What that means is you're holding life. You don't have life. You're holding on to it. Right? When I say holding on to it, not in an intense way, your attention is grounded in existential reality. Now, this existential reality has another side of the coin, which is how you're experiencing existence and how existence is leading to your experience. That means any idea, truth, freedom, joy, love, whatever, hate, whatever idea you look at it, it is existing because you are looking at it, and it's existing because that exists first, and now you can look at it. So the concept and context of reality, of course, they're in constant flux, but what we can do is at least make sure that every human being has access to three. It's as if time allows us to experience three kinds of reality. One reality that is only defined based on the past. One reality that is just the present. There is no past, there is no future. One reality where it's only for the future. In these episodes of mine where I talk about an advanced civilization, Civilization 2.0, my life's work, it's as if the future has a value that will shift the attitude of the present. But sometimes when you can also be kept by the past. You know, when I go, the past is to me like a field. When I walk into my past, then it's as if I'm not bulletproof. But when I stand in the present, I'm bulletproof. And when I envision in the future, when I wonder about the future and I find a value, something precious to live for, that's where might comes, you know. It's as if in order to have honor, there needs to be loyalty. And in order to have loyalty, there needs to be benevolence. And so if we can manage to make three worlds, everybody who's cruel, they're living in the past. Everybody who is kind is living in the future. And everybody who has no opinion, yet you are in the present. We start in the present, we accumulate a past, and we fly towards the future. That is the style of mankind. That is how we walk as a species. We fly. And so my vision is that we should attempt to, like, how can I say this? Like, before giving this talk, I was just looking outside and I was wondering that, okay, if I had to build, and how would an advanced civilization, like a fast-forwarded film, look like in front of me right now, you know? And so that question took me to this vision where I just saw a group of people arising, and the model of a sphere. We spherically develop things. That means people gather, they form a center. From that center arise branches. The genius of the world, the intention of the human being, whatever divine conclusion we give, however contexted our metaphysics. As we perceive shape, color, matter, and space, we must use these raw resources are direct experiential resources into fathoming reality. And the metaphysical clue, just to finalize the idea, the metaphysical clue is that it's spherical. You know, so if we attempt to build things like a sphere, it's as if we have listened to reality. And when I say a sphere, I'm saying a sphere being as the glory of the geometric blueprint of reality. You know, I think it was Plato's Metropolis. I don't know whose it was some ancient Greek dudes. A vision of how a city should in some sense be created, and the city should have a center and then spherically again like an onion. You know, I think people ate a lot of onions back in the day. We have intelligence, and before we don't have it, we must use it. Simple as that. The meaning of life is to see what you can do with what you are for now. Who you will be, it can be a gift to the civilization, to the species, or it can in some sense be an unnecessary failure. An advanced civilization would have so many backup systems, the issue of reality will change instantly. Freedom comes when our eyes were never closed. Much blessings and all.